this is the thing we have to realize. What is actually export office and how it works.
I think you should start. Sorry. I would say that an export office, as we said, can have different shapes, but the aim is the same, is to support the music people, professionals, artists, managers, labels, publishers, live people, bookers, into growing internationally, get an audience outside of their border. I think it's a question of mission more than the way you do it.
Yes, that's the same message from me, that there are many ways to reach kind of the similar type of goals. I think ultimately when we speak about music export actually happening, which is music from your country reaches the audiences in other countries, that is the overall goal. The ways to make that happen are different. And I think whatever the organization, basically music export offices are organizations looking at that goal and figuring out what needs to be done in your country to make that happen.
Analysis of the situation, right? Yeah.
Да, чрез анализ на ситуацията в момента.
Sorry, I can only agree. We want, all of us just want for our music to cross border and have some mobility.
Нашата музика да надхвърли границите, да има мобилност за нас, особено в европейския регион.
What's the biggest challenges
Какви са най-големите трудности за основаването на един експортен офис?
Maybe we can start from Hamburg.
Можем да започнем от Хамбург.
But it's regional, right? It's regional export office. Really different. It's again a big picture.
Yes, it is probably a bit different, and our organization has many facets and fields of work, and export is certainly one of them, and has been, getting more important over the years. That has to do with our federal construction. We do have quite similar to France, maybe the Initiative Musique, with a large music bureau that does export, among other things. But we have been doing export work on a regional and a federal level, both. So the question is, what are the challenges, right? First, I think one challenge is to find out who you are representing, what you are exporting, what companies you are doing it for, and what their needs are. This is, I think, is going to be a topic that will be repeated and again, probably in this round. What do you have to offer? What do you want to, show the world, and how to. How do you find out about these needs, and how do you gather all your companies and your artists, and to find out? I think that is one of the biggest challenges.
To answer these questions.
That is, and to answer these questions, and also to get funding. Obviously, that's always the challenge, right?
Virgo and Ante, we are coming from a very, very small market. So what's the challenges for the small music markets and the small ecosystems we have? Especially in Bulgaria, actually.
Do I have an hour? There are many aspects to this. I'll try to be brief. I'll come to the small market and country perspective as well. But I think, firstly, what everybody needs to struggle with is, if we think from the other end, so what's a successful export result happening? It's if an artist makes it somewhere else and builds a large audience, and that audience produces revenue for the artist, for the management, for the label, for the publisher, whoever is around the artist. So all the business around the artist is winning from this one export success. So that means that in order to figure out how to build an environment that allows this to happen, because you can't engineer export success, and that's what we all know. You can't engineer success. Music industry is an extremely risky, very highly uncertain, etc., etc. So all we can do is create an environment that makes the best possible environment for the artist and the business to grow and start their international careers and businesses. So that means that an export office who wants to work with the environment needs to work with all of the parts of the music sector, and that's already quite difficult. You need to have everybody around the table and so on. And I mean, there have been cases where the organization working with export has been built based on only like one narrow part of the music sector, and it never works. I mean, ultimately you need to build kind of a round table where all the important parts of the music sector are kind of represented, because they all play an important piece in the ultimate success story, right? So getting that kind of done and getting that discussion started is always difficult in a country, and that we see everywhere we've seen this happen. Is always difficult because we come from a tradition of building sector or sub-sector based organizations. So overcoming that is one. And the other thing, of course, is to explain to the policymakers why this matters, because this is a very long-term goal. It's not like we invest 10,000 today and then in 6 months we ask, so how much did you make? That's not going to work. This is a sort of a generation shift that's going to have to develop in the long term. So getting the policymakers to have the patience to view this longer-term perspective is always difficult, and it requires a little bit more time to build this kind of discussion up. You can't expect to sort of waltz in and get quick results, and so you have to build on two fronts. You have to build a relationship with all the bits in the industry, and then you have to build a relationship with the policymakers. That's already an enormous job. And then coming from a small country, that's the extra problem, is that the local industry does not have a lot of opportunity to earn revenue from local markets that they can invest into their export development. So they are extremely constrained in terms of the initial investment and financial capacity to do it. I think that is on top of everything else in the small countries that we have.
So first we have to convince the institutions that not to expect economic or cultural impact in 1 year, so because it's a very, very long path. But before that, I'm sure that we need a capacity building. I mean, all we need.